The character rework is one of Jagex's most ambitious projects in recent history, and yet is an update we haven't seen anything of in over a year. What exactly happened, and will we ever be seeing this update in a live game? Let's find out together, so whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy. For more RuneScape content, guides, and news, be sure to subscribe. The first signs of the character rework emerged as part of a letter to the players from Mod Warden, the executive producer at Jagex, back in 2020. That letter, amongst other things, had a segment about the future of RuneScape, which included mentions of improvements to how the World Guardian is represented in-game, including 2 headshots of both the male and female character in early development. It wasn't much, but enough for players to become curious for more. Luckily for the players, it wouldn't take long for Jagex to provide more details, as around a month later, near the end of January in 2021, Jagex launched a developer livestream in which the mods, including the art director Mod Iro, shared a sizable amount of information on the update. In that livestream, the mods shared their progress on upgrading the player character visually to modernize the game's feel and to improve the player experience while using the existing game engine and technology available. The reason I say progress is because the project had already begun preparation back in 2018, and during that livestream in January was already in the proof of concept phase. The general scope of the project was narrowed down to improving all outfits, hairstyles, and facial hair within the character creator screen. The reason behind this choice is that the mods figured this would add the most amount of value to the game and be the right place to start without making the project unnecessarily expansive. The focus was to upgrade all elements part of the character creator, being 32 outfits, 62 hairstyles, and 18 beards, and only then, after successfully implementing all those elements, they could start to work on other outfits, hairstyles, and cosmetics with much greater speed. During that livestream, the old player model was compared to the new player model, which, as you can see, has much higher detail while staying within the same proportions as the old model. The reason the developers were restricted to the existing proportions was due to engine limitations and them wanting to avoid to have to rework thousands of animations. In the same livestream, they also showcased the benefits of having a much more detailed model by having different types of light hitting the skin in a much more natural way, which was also showcased in game at the Everlight dig site. While subtle, it does make the character feel more involved in the world around it, and that's exactly what they were going for.
For it to be rewarding, you want a sense of interaction between that world and the avatar. So the avatar is not just prettiness or beauty or detail or that. The avatar's the thing that pegs you to the world. And the more we can do to make that as rewarding as possible, the better it is, for us as game developers, because we love that stuff. And for players as well, because it's making their commitment and time in the world kind of respected and reflected in the thing that represents them there, which is the avatar.
The next update on the character rework was a month later in February, at which point Jagex was in the production phase. This update, in form of a livestream, showcased changes to both the male and female character model, partially due to player feedback. Both the male and female model were altered to fit the activities the character was performing in-game. In case of the female model, this meant making the character more athletic, and in case of the male model, making it a little less bulky or bodybuilder-like. They also showcased the model hands, which while running on the old animation rig still seemed to fit surprisingly well after they had slimmed down the hands themselves. Facial expressions, part of the updated player chat heads though, were much more complex.
The hands are a breeze compared to the chat head.
As I'm sure you can imagine, animating fingers bending is much easier than animating full-on facial expressions that actually look natural. In fact, it was so difficult to update the player chat head within the old engine that they made a priority list to allocate more time and resources to the most commonly used and seen chat head animation. The next and last time a good amount of progress was showcased on the character rework was in a livestream in May 2021. In this livestream, they mentioned dealing with a big issue related to the lighting and reflection, especially in areas with no or outdated so-called cube maps. A cube map being a 3D image of an area that tells materials how to reflect light in that area or square on the map. There were a couple of examples shown in the livestream, including a desert cube map being assigned to the Lost Grove, which obviously doesn't fit and after being fixed, actually looks somewhat natural. Since there are thousands of cube maps, you can imagine this is a lot of work to go through. They were also able to show a significant amount of progress, including footage of the newly updated character creation screen, outfits, and hairstyles. At that point in time, 7 of the 16 male and female outfits were completed, 41 out of the 62 hairstyles were completed, 25 of those being male and 16 female, and 15 beards aka facial hair had been completed. So a large portion of the character creator elements were already finished, but then the project slowly faded away, despite it sounding like it would have been released before mobile, and Modhuli mentioning this in the livestream from May.
Right, we're trying to deliver something tangible that is going to come out this year. That will essentially be something we can build from and expand from.
Well, it has not made it into the live game yet, and there has been radio silence on the topic, at least compared to the amount of information we were getting before. Until Modhuli replied to a Reddit post requesting a livestream update with the following message on the 2nd of September 2021, around 120 days after the last livestream update. According to Modhuli, the reason the mods have been radio silent on the update since that livestream back in May was because of technical issues related to the components that make up a head not being built in a standard format over the past years. Since this technical issue didn't stand out in the proof of concept phase, they now have to resolve these issues, which requires more resources that weren't accounted for in the project scope initially. Quoting Modhuli here, this doesn't mean that it's off the table, but it does mean a longer wait between updates as we find opportunities to work on it around all the major updates for the game. End quote. In November that same year, Modhuli mentions that they will be updating the player base on the character rework in an upcoming livestream. Now, I wasn't able to find a livestream from that particular date mentioned, perhaps because Mod Iro, the art director, left Jagex after only being part of the company for 1.5 years. While some players thought this was the end for the character rework, according to Modhuli in a Modcast Q&A, his departure from Jagex shouldn't have an effect on the rework's progress.
If you haven't heard already, Mod Iro has sadly kind of moved on from Jagex. So the way he romanticized the RuneScape art style and what it meant, and a lot of his things that obviously he's been responsible for and stuff will live on. Play Avatar, lots of people asking about the status and about does Mod Iro's departure impact it in any way. It wasn't tied specific to Mod Iro. Obviously Mod Iro was a massive part of it, and it's sad to see him go. And we'll miss his dulcet tones. But
in December, during a Q&A livestream, Modhuli again reminds the players that the update is not shelved, but instead in a state of limbo.
The only other thing I want to say is character rework or player avatar refresh. If you go back to the last stream, I covered this in detail about where it is, why it is where it is. It's not forgotten. It's not gone into the ether and never to come back, or the dreaded S word, that shelf. For those of you who are new, actually, I probably should explain that stuff. But it is in a case of being a little bit kind of in a state of limbo where we have to scope it in somewhere. We have to understand what the ramifications are with all the issues and all the things that came out of when we went into that kind of pre-production proof of concept phase into full production. We found a lot of unexpected things.
Modkeeper, RuneScape's new executive producer after Mod Warden, who left Jagex in October of 2021, also said the project wasn't shelved and was still being worked on in his first livestream on the 26th of April 2022. He also mentions the team needing to upgrade its tools and or technology, which is a bit of additional information I cannot remember seeing anywhere else.
Definitely not shelved, absolutely not. It's just a much bigger project than that anybody ever thought it would be. I talked about improving our technology, improving our tools. This is all needed in order to make the Avatar project come to life. I mean, to really bring it to life. And you can imagine if we improve our tools, if we change our tools, people need to sort of learn how to use the new tools. If we improve our technology, we need to make sure that the pipelines are ready for it. So there's much more to it than just saying, hey, we're updating our player avatars. Mm-hmm. What I can say, it's not shelved. It's definitely sort of being worked on, but it's still a long road to go.
As we describe it in game development, it's got a blocker until that tech comes in, basically, right? And then it might be a possibility that we can start to work on.
From previous updates, it seemed to be a capacity and resources problem that the mods and external partners simply needed to work on in between large updates, whenever that capacity would be available. The impression I'm getting here now though is that Jagex is trying to upgrade their software to make it less resource intensive to upgrade the character model. I don't have a lot to go off here, but that's what I'm thinking is going on. Until they have that software upgrade or some other kind of solution, it seems that the character rework is unofficially shelved. I personally feel like the odds of us seeing the character rework release in the coming years are very slim. Is that disappointing? Depends. I think modernizing the game visually is important for RuneScape's longevity, but there are far more issues that the entire rework isn't even going to cover, like giving every ability meaningful and unique animations. But judging by the fact that they are limited by the engine in some shape or form, I don't think we'll be seeing anything like that anytime soon either. I personally won't be waiting for this update, but I will be pleasantly surprised when and if it finally will. Until then, it's time to gobble some spaghetti, but hey, that's okay because I like pasta anyway.